almost St David's Day here in Wales, and in this video tutorial I'm going to show you how you can create a simple arrangement using some British grown daffodils. Now this is the second design that I've created this year for St David's Day, and if you want to go back to last year, I created some completely different designs to help celebrate our National Day here in Wales. Now I've got two bunches of supermarket daffodils. One is this lovely shade of yellow, and then I've got a lighter shade just to give me some contrast. Now my base today is just this ordinary woven flower pot. It's got a lovely shade of yellow to match with my daffodils, and I wanted to incorporate a sort of stronger structure at the back. I don't have a great deal of daffodils. I'm trying to do a design with a minimal selection of flowers so that you can get to practice smaller designs at home. And I am using floral foam today, and there are plenty of videos on the channel that use far more sustainable options. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to reuse one of these circular wreath rings that we quite often see at Christmas time. They're very popular now, decorated for front doors at Easter and during the summer months. But I've used two kebab sticks just to anchor that base into the back, and it gives me a taller structure, just adds a bit of texture, that rustic feel to the design, and I felt it was quite springtime in its appearance, and it's going to work really well alongside the idea that I've got in my mind, and hopefully it will work really well alongside my daffodils. Now the circular shape of the frame is going to be echoed with my first choice of greenery, and I've picked from my garden some rosemary, and I've tried to pick pieces that are slightly curved, and it's really going to help echo the shape of that rustic frame there in the back. And if you haven't got this rustic wreath ring, then you can do this design just as well without that structure at the back. I just thought it was going to work really nicely with my design today. So these curved shaped pieces of the rosemary are going to exaggerate the shape of my frame. I'm lucky enough to get ones that have curved really well, and I did spend some time selectively choosing the right pieces, and sometimes that's a really important factor. If you're trying to create a design with some curves in it, then select material that also curves. It really does help you achieve that final goal. Now I'm going to bring the colour up on the opposite side, but this time working from the front of my arrangement. If you don't have rosemary in the garden, you might have some eucalyptus, you could have privet, and of course the benefit of working with something like rosemary is it has a fabulous fragrance. So you get a beautiful aroma when you're working on the design and when you're admiring it at home. So a great link of colour from one side to the other. At the moment we've just got pieces in on the side, so I'll bring some of the same textured material through to the front as well. And these pieces I'm going to angle down more towards the front, just so that they hang over the edge of the container and give me a bit of coverage there where the floral foam is. And because the rosemary is very light, it's almost feathery in its appearance, I'm going to introduce a stronger foliage alongside it, which is going to help give me some contrast. Again, it's a garden foliage. This is the common ivy that we have growing quite freely here in the UK, and this one still has the little black berry on it. Birds haven't eaten all these ones yet. Again, I've looked for ones that have a little curve to them, so ones that aren't quite so severe and so straight, and they're going to work in exactly the same sort of manner as the rosemary to help link the colour through from one side to the other. A few smaller pieces towards the front again, and the basic outline structure is complete. Now sometimes when I'm arranging, I put an outline shape in first, sometimes I put the flowers in first, and I really do think it's a personal preference, or maybe the way you've been taught. If it's not comfortable for you to put the foliage in first, or you don't have any foliage to use, then work in a manner that suits you and is comfortable with you. If you've got any questions that you want to ask, please put them in the comment box below, because it really does help me plan for future videos when I know if there are any problems or issues. And if you don't know, right at the end of the tutorial, after I've said goodbye to you all, there will be a series of pictures of the finished design with close-ups of the individual flowers as well. So I've got a curved shape following the shape of that willow structure at the back. I haven't put any foliage yet at the back of my design, and I will need to fill in to make sure we can't see the floral foam at the end, but I can start putting my flowers in now. And I'm going to try to copy the shape that I've already created with the outline. I'm going to start with my more closed flowers first. Coincidentally, that happens to have a nice curve to it, so that can be one of my taller flowers. Now, one of the questions I get asked quite a lot is, can you arrange daffodils in floral foam? And they aren't the easiest to work with in floral foam. The stem is hollow, it's very soft, and it can get damaged while you put it into the foam. So my tip for today's video would be to use a little cocktail stick there, insert it into the base, and that will help give you some support while you insert it into the foam. Now, I've had plenty of practice over the years, so I'm more confident arranging without that little cocktail stick or that wire in the bottom. But it's a really good way of giving your flowers some extra support. Right, so what I'm starting to do with my daffodils, and I'm going to work quite slowly so that I don't damage any of my daffodils. I'm almost going to follow the greenery from one side to the other. I'm starting with the paler colour first. No reason for that, it just happens to be the closest bunch to where I'm working. And I'm going to start a little bit shorter. I'm going to start on the opposite side. Now, if you don't have cocktail sticks, then what you can use instead is a florist wire. You need quite a strong gauge, 70 or a 90 gauge wire. Starting to get a bit of an issue with getting the stems into this area here. And sometimes the corners or the edges of the foam is a bit damaged. So you can see I'm starting to work my way from the outer edge in towards the centre. Very light and airy flower arrangement. Definitely something that you will see in the springtime. The daffodils that I've bought from the local supermarket have 10 stems in each bunch. So I'm trying to remember to leave space in between the flowers for the yellow daffodils in just a moment. Some of them have already opened, so I'm using the more open stems towards the centre of the arrangement. And I've tried to angle them in different positions. So some are facing sideways, some are looking straight on, and it makes a more natural design. It stops it being very static and very formal in its appearance. So now as we start to add more flowers in, that background archway becomes less dominant and less significant. The daffodils are the main feature of this design, so you should be able to see those really clearly. And now that I'm happy with the placement of the paler daffodils, I'm going to introduce that darker yellow colour. These are far more open. There isn't enough room at the back for me to put any daffodils in. I've just left enough space for the greenery, but there's plenty of space still available at the front. If you're new to arranging flowers, then I would suggest you purchase a really good strong pair of scissors. A florist scissors is much better than a household scissors. And when you've got small spring flowers like daffodils, irises, tulips, it's far more beneficial to cut them with a really good strong pair of scissors or a florist knife than it is to cut them with a damaged scissors, because you tend to damage those very delicate stems on the bottom. Now, this would be a front facing design, so it's only seen from one side. You could quite easily make it so that it's viewed from both sides, but you would need to have a larger piece of foam to be able to get more stems of flowers in. If you don't have two types of daffodils like I have, then you can always use just one flower variety. And if you're growing them in the garden, you might have a mixture, little narcissi, tate-tates, those type of varieties, and they would work just as well in here as well. Now, if you've been watching for a while, you'll know that I have a private Facebook group. It's called Sharon's Innovations Group. Don't look for me personally, because you'll be in the wrong place. But there's a lovely community of ladies and gents that regularly share photographs of their designs or ask questions if they have any problems. And if you're part of that Facebook group, you also get discounts on the online courses. So it's really worth joining me over there. You'll also find me on Instagram and Facebook as well. And if you've ever got any questions or you want me to help you solve a problem, then you can send me an email to the address on the screen below, and I can hopefully help you with any problems that you might have. Now this design is almost finished. I just need to fill in with some extra pieces of rosemary close down to cover my floral foam here at the front and at the back. Try and remember not to overfill at this stage, because you will really lose all the colours and the textures of the different types of flowers and greenery that you've used. I'm going to slightly extend over this side here to go with that daffodil that's positioned quite low down on that side there. Some greenery in this section. For me, this is a true seasonal design. When I started as a florist way back in 1986, most of the flowers that we see all year round were still very much seasonal, and I can still remember those seasons, and I find it really frustrating when a bouquet in the supermarket is labelled as a spring bunch and it has nothing in there that actually grows in the springtime. Arranging true spring flowers at this time of the year is a real joy and something that I get great pleasure in doing. And what I'm doing here is just making sure that that small bit of floral foam at the back is completely covered so that the water has less chance of evaporating away. Now, I've really enjoyed creating that today. This is a lovely relaxing way of enjoying your fresh flowers. I hope that you can take inspiration from this particular design. If you've enjoyed the content, then stick to the end, because there will be a link to another video. Thank you as ever for watching. Please comment, like or subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to seeing you for the next tutorial. So goodbye for now.